Hey Ducks, it's Bryan Caplan here. Greetings from Aruba. I'm on vacation and honestly, I forgot to put this video up, so I apologize. But I hope that this recording helps any and all of you, whether you were able to attend the event or if you missed it and you need to watch the replay. We've got everything we covered in our Grow with Google event where we talked about powering your job search with Google tools, and I hope that it helps. Until next time, stay well, stay healthy, stay happy. Here's to your success.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Welcome, everyone. I am Megan McKinney. I am the Associate Director of the Duck Career Network in the University of Oregon Alumni Association. And I am so happy to be here this evening to introduce our Oregon alumnus, Bryan Caplan. He is a dedicated trainer for Grow with Google. And during his workshop, Brian is going to walk you through ways in which you can take your job search to the next level by discovering new job opportunities using Google search and organizing and enhancing your job search experience using tools like Google Docs and Google Sheets. He's got a lot of really valuable information to share with you. So stay tuned, and Brian, take it away.
Thank you so much, Megan. And anyone that's watching, if you do require closed captions, you can go and open a new tab or browser window, go to g.co/grow/Brian. So today we're talking about powering your job search with Google tools. Megan did introduce me. I'll tell you, my name's Bryan Caplan. I am born and raised in Boston. I found my way somehow all the way to Eugene, Oregon. Actually, my dad worked for Columbia Sportswear. I lived in Beaverton, Oregon, got a good scholarship, went down to University of Oregon, and just enjoyed college. I had such an amazing time. I got to actually join the LCB honors program, and it has been a great starting point. And I look back today, actually, I'm very nostalgic. I'm going to be sharing a story with you in a second. I'm very nostalgic right now, just thinking about where I was and when I was in your position, what I was thinking, what I was doing. So I'm hoping that this class can actually help some of my fellow Ducks to shorten that job search and land your dream job. Hey, feel free to connect with me. You can go to bryancaplan.com/go. Now, 14 years ago, I found this photo today. 14 years ago, I was sitting right there on those stairs in front of Lillis. I had just given my capstone project, and I'm sitting there freaking out because I had finished the Lundquist College of Business honors program. I'm set to leave campus. I'm set to go start I want to get a job. I'm looking for a six-figure job. I'm going to go make millions of dollars. But where do I start? So I grabbed my phone. I just started messaging anyone I could. And I found an old camp counselor who said, hey, I know someone that works for Dunkin' Brands, which is Dunkin' Donuts. And I said, yeah, let's do it. So he told me about him. I sent the email. I'll be sharing that and actually some tips that I learned from sending that email in a little bit. But right there was where it started. Right there was where I actively started doing my job search. Now, I ended up jumping into entrepreneurship. I drove cross country, sold all my stuff on Craigslist. I lived on 14th and Agate in a studio apartment, sold all my stuff on Craigslist, rented a minivan, and drove with my dad from Oregon all the way to Boston and started 2 t-shirt brands. That's a different story for a different day. But right now we're talking about being in that mindset of searching for jobs. And as I saw, about 2 out of 3 of you are still figuring out what you want to do. Hopefully I can give you some inspiration. Now today, we're going to be talking about creating a job tracker in Google Sheets. That's going to make your life a lot easier. I'm going to show you, we're going to go through an exercise of us creating it together and see if we can come up with something that would be useful for all of us. Then we'll walk through job search on Google and the features that help you filter down job search results so that you can find the opportunities that best match your skills. And finally, I'll jump over to Google Docs and we're going to look at templates for resumes and also some best practices. Then what I'm going to do is open it up for questions and answers. So anything that we cover today or any questions you have in general, you can feel free to enter into the questions box. Now, just to make sure that all of you can hear my voice, see my screen, and see that questions box, can you type in and say hello or give me a go Ducks if you can hear my voice and see my screen and you found the question box on the right-hand side of your web page? You got to go Ducks. Awesome. Here they come. Go Ducks, go Ducks. Awesome. Hello. So let's start by talking about Google Apps. Now, in order to use Google Apps, many of you might already have a Gmail account, most likely. If you don't, it's completely free to create a Google account, which gives you the keys to the kingdom. You can use what I'm going to show you today. You could potentially use Gmail. Here they go. Go Ducks, go Ducks, go Ducks. I love it. Yes. So the first thing you're going to have to do is sign into your Google account. I'm going to assume that you know how to sign into your Google account. You're already signed in. Within Google, we have several applications and then applications after that. You only have to sign in once to be able to access Google Sheets, Docs, Slides, Photos, Forms, Gmail, and a lot of other apps. Now, once you've signed in, I'm going to show you a trick. This is a time saver. Maybe some of you already knew this, but right up here in the top right, you see a little 3x3 grid. I call it the Eggo. It's like an Eggo waffle, and it looks like a waffle button. That's where you can jump to any of these different apps real quick, and you can even hard drop, so you can click on it, hard click and carry it over. You can drag and drop so that you can make it customizable, and that way it saves you time. So there's your first tip of the day. Use that button. It will save you valuable seconds, which turn into minutes and hours. So what we're going to do is we're going to open a new sheet, and I am somewhat of a wild card. So I don't go on the slides. I create my own. So you should all be seeing my screen right now. And let me just zoom it. There we go. All of you should be seeing my screen. And I'm in a Google Sheet. I just created a blank sheet so that we could start fresh. I want to make this interactive, and I want you to start actively thinking about what you should be tracking, considering as you're going through your job search. The first thing to note is that I titled it, and I titled it Landing My Dream Job, and then in parentheses 2022 Job Search Tracker. There's some psychology behind that. You know, if you go into this whole experience with kind of a mindset of I'm going to get that job, you go in the affirmative, you're going to be making decisions that will help you get that job. I'll give you a great example. My mom went through this, and in 2020, she was let go from her job because of COVID. So she's actively applying, researching, interviewing, doing whatever she can. And her sheet just said, Nat's job search. Okay, Nat, well, that's nice, but I don't think that's going to inspire you. So I changed it to landing my dream job. Wouldn't you believe it? Every time she opened it up, she had a smile on her face. And that got her going, and it kind of primed her to, okay, I'm going to, let me answer that email, or let me take this call, or whatever else. So even the smallest things in this job search, because it can take a while, even the smallest things will help and will inspire you to move forward. So we're on this, and right now it's a blank spreadsheet. I am going to assume the majority of you have worked with spreadsheets before. If you haven't, just a few things kind of so that we're all on the same page. Spreadsheet's made up of cells. Each box I click is a cell. Now, each cell is the intersection of a column and a row. If you ever played the game Battleship, B2, right here, oh, you sunk my battleship. So that's the cell. It's this intersection of a column and a row. At the top, we have the headers. So you are all going to help me. I see you're all engaged. I've got Logan and Jin, Victoria, Paula, Sneka, Diane, Derek, Eli, Kaylee, Gabrielle, James, Adam, Todd, Tom. You're all going to engage with me right now and help me figure out what are we going to track. So I want to get from you, put it in the questions box. If we were creating a job search tracker, what information or what different data points would you want to track? Position, you got it. Salary, okay. Company, URL, sure. Revenue, I'm gonna guess revenue salary, Adam, but let me know if I'm off. Type of job, so yep, position, okay. Wage, city, let's do location, like that one. Close date, okay. That's a great one, application close date. When's it due by? Skills required, another good one. Ducks firing hot, skills required. Got location, recruiter. Victoria says recruiter. So let's say it's those. There's plenty more. The world's your oyster. You can make a spreadsheet as long as you want. Well, let's say it's just these. Okay, so of course you would go through and you would add your position. So let's just say sales rep, salary 50K. We're going to say company is Acme Company, www.acme.com. Location, it could be open-ended, so we could say maybe it's in person, maybe it's in Portland. So let's say Portland, OR. Application close date, well, it's due, I'm going to make it due tomorrow. For right here. Okay. Then skills required. Let's say that we need, what are some skills? Internet research, maybe video editing, maybe people skills. Who knows? And then the recruiter, if you're working with a recruiter, well, we can type in person one. Okay, so we've got a basic idea. Here I can choose the top header, make it bold. I can even go on here and change up the header color and stuff like that, just so that it looks a little bit more inviting. You can customize this as however you want. I'm going to tell you, I was just looking, I actually found my mom's old job search tracker from 2020, and she had tons of information. So I actually grabbed some of it and I created a sheet that I wanted to share with you. So here's a sheet that I created. And in this sheet, we've got status. So where are we in the process? I loved the one where, who was it? Someone just said application close date, Victoria. So, okay, the application's due by this time. Well, what about status? And with that, are we researching it? Did we apply? Are we interviewing? Do we have no interest? It's not for us. Or did we nail it and we got the job? And then the same thing, position, company name, salary. Is it in person or remote? You can choose from a drop down. Point of contact, email, phone number, their LinkedIn profile so that you can interact with their profile, follow them, and maybe like some of the stuff, comment on it. Best way to reach, same kind of thing, phone or email. So I created a little bit more in depth, and I used something that I wanted to show you. This is the next tip for you. So there are two things at play here on this spreadsheet. I've kind of brought it to a more advanced level for some of you who are power users of Google Sheets and Excel. And Google Sheets specifically, I can use something that's called data validation. And by using data validation, notice how when I click in column A, I could choose researching. I could do interviewing, and you're going to see something just happen, right? So I see all of these different statuses. When I chose interviewing, it was green. Well, that's where I was actually using something called conditional formatting. These are both advanced functions that you can use to color code your document so you can easily see it. My mom, what she was doing was alternating so that each alternative row had a different color. That made it easy for her. Whatever's going to make it easy and user-friendly for you, do it. In this case, I use a lot of data validation because it's so easy to just choose from a drop-down instead of having to type it in. So again, we're looking at saving you time. The more time we can save, that's the more time either you can spend re-energizing and refreshing yourself, or it's more time that you can spend researching and applying to jobs. So the name of the game is time there. So let me jump back. What I want to do is we're going to start talking about using Google to find jobs. So if we jump back into the presentation and we start looking at, okay, how can we actually use Google to find jobs? Remember, I had told you this tool that's available, and it's the job search tool on Google. Now, you might use terms when you go to google.com, you might use terms like jobs near me or retail jobs or customer service jobs. The cool thing about Google is that when you go to google.com and start typing in, it will present you with information that's relevant. So if you type in anything about jobs, it's going to show you information about jobs, and most likely it's going to show you a tool that will help you find those jobs. Let's take a look. Now, to make searching for jobs easier, Google finds listings from all over the internet, and it collects them in one search result. So right here, you see a snapshot of jobs that meet your search criteria, and they're all on the Google search page. Now, to explain, This information is made available for each listing basically by Google searching for Indeed.com and other sites that might be listing jobs. It might also be looking at the employer's own sites because they have pages where they're listing jobs. Let me ask you, how many of you are just kind of haphazardly searching? You're shooting from the hip, as I say, and you're saying, hey, oh, that's a cool company. Let me go look for their jobs. And so you go to their site, you go in their, jobs or employees wanted section, whatever it is, we're hiring. How many of you are just kind of doing that? You're, oh, I like that company. Let me go check it out. That's exactly what I was doing when I wrote that email that I showed you before. So I was like, oh, I grew up in Massachusetts. Dunkin' Donuts is huge there. Why not? I'd love to work for Dunkin'. It's kind of like all my friends that went to Southridge High School in Beaverton working for Nike now. Very similar. Yep, so some of you are doing that. Well, this changes it. This turns it on its head. And the information that we can see is pretty insane. We're going to be able to see ways to apply. So you see right here, apply on Sykes Jobs, Career Builder, LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter. We're also going to see salary information if it's available. We're going to see job descriptions. So this is grabbed from the site. We can see the job description right there. We can see company reviews on sites like Glassdoor or others. And there's a lot more. Now, your search may have returned lots of jobs. So to get more specific results, you may want to choose a filter. And you can filter your job search by title, by location, the date the job was posted. So obviously, if it's more recent, then maybe it has less applicants, the type of job, or the employer. So for those of you that just responded and said, yeah, I see like, oh, I look at the Nike site or I look at this site and see if they have new jobs. This you can actually start filtering by employer. So what you're going to do is, let's say that you select a job that matches your needs. You're going to read through the job description. If you think you might want to apply for the position, but you don't want to do it right now, you can click on save. And then that's going to bookmark the listing so you don't have to search for it again later. And at the top of the jobs listing, there's a tab right up here in the middle called save. Just click on it. You'll see all of your saved jobs. So it's going to show everything in one list. Now, here's something you're going to want to note. It's important to check job listings frequently so that you're not missing out on opportunities. In fact, my suggestion for you, if you're using like a calendar, let's say you have Google Calendar, or maybe you have an iPhone, you use the Apple Cal, whatever you're using, schedule time, or what I call block time, for when you're going to be doing this. So actually take a chunk out of your day and devote it to doing this. That way, you're going to block that time. You're going to have it designated. It's a really good habit to get into after you get out of school, because once real life happens and you have a wife or husband or partner or friends or kids or grandkids or whatever's going on, well, there's a lot going on. And it's really important that you get very good at organizing your time. So consider doing time blocking with your calendar. So what you want to do is set a time block to go and check those new jobs. But here's the thing. Employers are posting new jobs all the time. Are you really going to be checking it every day? Nah. That's where, to save time when you're searching for job listings and using this specific tool, you can set up email alerts. So when you set an alert, you'll automatically receive an email about new listings that match your search criteria. And to receive these emails about the job search, you're going to see on the lower left of the screen, you can turn on alerts. Right here, turn on email alerts. Since you're already signed into your Google account, you will receive emails from the Google Jobs platform. And email alerts arrive once a day unless you change the settings. So you can actually change the frequency. Then you could select if you want to receive them instantly. So as soon as the job is posted, you want to be like the first one there. Daily to receive one update per day, or weekly to get even fewer emails. If you want to stop receiving them, just turn off the alerts. It's that simple. You can select unsubscribe and confirm your selection. You'll no longer receive those email notifications. Now, a feature that launched earlier this year in response to individuals wanting more flexibility, so many of you might be wanting to work remote or virtual, is the new work from home filter. And this, I wish this was available when I was at school. This feature allows you to narrow down your job search to show only roles that allow you to work remotely. And no matter how often you have to move, you don't need to worry about that move causing job displacement because you're working from home. So if you are from Washington, I had a lot of friends from Washington or California or Idaho, and you're going back home, you can still use that work from home function. If we have any veterans in the audience, thank you for your service, and know that you can actually type in veteran jobs near me. You'll be able to do what we call an MOS code job search. So once you've run a search query and you typed in veteran jobs, Google will prompt you for your MOS code. And just to explain for those of you who are non-military, Google has made it easier for transitioning service members to find local jobs that fit their skill set. And military service personnel transitioning back into civilian life, they're given a military occupational specialty code or an MOS code. And that way they can use that code. It already has detailed what their skills are, what they've learned while they served our country, and then they're able to find jobs that apply. So here's what we'll do. I'm going to give you, let's say 2 minutes. I feel like a professor. I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and I want you to go open a new tab, type in jobs, type in a certain kind of job, and just use the Google job search. I want you to check that out. Once you start looking, click around, see if you can save something, see if you can, if you want to turn on an alert. Click on the filters, and I'm going to be quiet for a sec. I'm going to let you do your thing. So I will be back in 1 minute, and then we will reconvene and keep going. Okay, I have ADHD and I can't wait for a whole minute. So that was about a minute. You got the idea. Obviously, it's very simple. You're just going to open a tab, type in jobs, and then you'll be brought into that job search platform where you can start searching, setting alerts, so on and so forth. So we've completed a job search. And then let's say that we went and added some jobs to that job tracker, the spreadsheet we created. Well, the next step is to prepare a resume. So show of hands, how many of you have a resume right now? Type in me, all caps, ME, if you have your resume and it's good to go. You are shipping it out the door all the time. How many of you are building it? Type in the word building if you're building your resume right now. And how many of you are putting it off because you just don't know how to tackle it? Type in off, OFF, if you are putting it off. I see some me's, I see some building, whole bunch of me's off. Carter, I love that you're honest. Love the candor here. Me, building. Awesome, Derek, cool. We got some buildings, a whole bunch of builders here. Bunch of me's. Great. Okay. Well, if you already have it, I'll have some tips after I go through some of the basics of building the resume that you're going to want to pay attention to. For those of you that are building it, I'll show you something that you can use. And it's actually something I wish I had had because I was working on Microsoft Word and had nothing. So first off, let's talk about some common resume mistakes before I get into building. And there are certain pitfalls that hiring managers often see as they review resumes, and some things that detract from a good resume. So a few things. The resume is too sparse or it doesn't have enough information. Think about it like this, okay? I'm willing to bet that the majority of you are using social media, whether it be longer form, like you're making a video on YouTube, or if it's short form, like you're making TikToks and Reels and things like that. Every time you create a piece of content, you're telling a story. This right here, I want you to think of as just another piece of content, but it's telling the story of how you came to be where you are right now. It's very difficult to talk about yourself when you're not practiced in talking about yourself. It's difficult to convey how you're feeling if you're not a good communicator. And it's really hard to summarize yourself in a single page, or if you go over, maybe it's 2 pages, so that some perfect stranger can decide if they want to give you money to work at their place or not. It's just a real weird kind of limbo, like Twilight Zone. Here's the thing with resumes. You got to tell a story. And so if you don't give enough information, you're not giving the hiring manager, the recruiter, the business owner enough to kind of feel if they want to bring you to that next step. So consider adding in just a little bit of supporting information. Doesn't have to be a paragraph for each job, but enough. Maybe it's one sentence, maybe it's a few bullet points underneath that are going to help you really convey what you did and what you got out of that job or that position. Conversely, if you make it crowded or hard to understand, so if you have, instead of 3 bullet points, I saw one person that had 8 bullet points per job, and they had like a framework that they were following. Here's how many people I talked to, here's the revenue which I loved, but you could tell that every meeting I was going to have with this person was going to last an extra 30 minutes because they'd have 8 more bullet points of stuff to say. So keep it short. You've heard the KISS principle. Keep it simple and sweet. Keep it short and sweet. Distracting text or fonts. Hey, stick to just, if you can, one font. If you have to, two, but I would just say one. Times New Roman is like your best friend because it's being printed out. So you might want to use Times New Roman. And then you're just more so playing with bold, italics, and regular font. You do not need underlines in a resume. This is something. Depending on what job you're applying for, you may require attention to detail. Most jobs are going to require attention to detail in some form or fashion. This, my friends, as I said, it's already difficult to summarize yourself in one page, but even more so, let's say that you send that page out, but it has a whole bunch of typos, grammatical errors, misspellings. Well, if I am a recruiter, a hiring manager, a business owner, which I am, and I see something come through that has not been proofread, that hasn't been checked for spelling and grammar, and I see a whole bunch of errors, right away I think this person might make a whole bunch of errors when they work for me. And that's how simply I can take that resume and put it in the recycling bin. So for all of you that said me, and I have a whole bunch of me's here, make sure you go over and proofread that bad boy and then send it to one of your friends, family members, someone that's really good at writing, because we all know that one person. Send it to them and have them proofread it. Ask them to do a favor, buy them a coffee, whatever it is. Do something so that you're getting those extra eyes on it and making sure there are no errors. That's how you're going to basically shoot yourself in the foot before you get in the door. Now, you see the crowded or hard to understand. Here's a perfect example right here. These are all fake people, of course, but you see how they just loaded everything in. It's way too much. And in this case, it's easier for me to put that resume down or put it in the recycling bin rather than try to navigate and sift through it. There's the distracting fonts. Totally forgot I added this in. And then there are the multiple typos, leading, implementation, increasing. And listen, I fully understand if English is a second language. My wife, her family come from the Cape Verde Islands off the west coast of Africa. And my father-in-law is proud to be first generation, and I'm proud of him. At the same time, he knows that if he was going to be putting something out, he might send it to me to proofread or someone else, because you want to put your best foot forward. That's all I'm saying. And there are 4 strategies to improve your resume as well. So one is choosing a professional format. I'm going to show you some templates in a second that are available through Google Docs for those of you that are building or still thinking about it. But you want to just do something, again, following those best practices I just showed you. Make sure that it has some meat to it, but it's not too filled in. Use one font, and make sure that, as we were saying, you want to make sure that you don't have those typos either. Number 2, when you're creating your resume, focus on highlighting your skills and accomplishments. Now, it's not like you're taking a photo of your trophy from Pee Wee soccer in 2nd grade and putting it on your resume. That's cute, but it's not going to get you the job. Instead, think about the skills and accomplishments that have to do with this industry or this company or this position. So sometimes you may actually have, my friends, multiple resumes. I think I had 4 different versions of my resume. And each one was for sales, one was for marketing, one was for real estate, and there was one other that I can't even remember anymore. But each of them had different skills and accomplishments that played towards that industry or that job role. If you can, cite specific examples and, more importantly, measurable details. I was taught as I was creating my resume, you can say I worked with a lot of people. Well, a lot of people that is subjective. A lot of people to you might be 4 people. A lot of people to me might be 4,000 because that's what I present in front of, right? So what's the number? I worked with 100 stakeholders, or I was managing 30 clients at a time. I generated $20,000 in revenue every quarter for the company. Whatever it is, if it makes you look good, if it props you up, it shares an accomplishment, and it has an actual number, a dollar figure or an integer or a percentage, add it in. And then number 4, tailor your resume to the job description. So we had already talked about that. Make sure, so before you submit it, make sure, read through and make sure that everything is playing to that specific job. So I'm going to take you through really quick and show you just how you can access we're going to go to google.com and show you how to use that apps button right up here in the top right. Click on the apps button and I'll go to Drive. And I'm in my Drive. I'm going to click on New, Google Docs. But I'm going to go here and I'm going to choose, instead of clicking on Google Docs, go over to the right-hand side on the arrow, mouse over to From a Template and click on that. And now you're going to see a whole bunch of templates in here. Now, some of these you don't need yet. Maybe you're doing meetings that might help you at one of your clubs or extracurriculars. As you scroll down, we go through legal, freelancer, personal, recipe, pet resume. That's not what we're talking about. Letters, and then resumes. And we have 5 different resumes to choose from. So since we've got green and yellow, let's click on Spearmint and see what this bad boy can do. So it's already templated. The fonts are there. The headers are there, the different sections. So Google has already taken all that hard work out of it. All you have to do is pop in your information. One thing that I'll tell you, with regards, let me scroll in here, let me zoom in. When you're creating your resume, of course, your address is important, where you're located, phone number, yes, email. Another thing to consider is putting either a link to, if you have a personal portfolio, linking to that, or linking to your LinkedIn profile, since it's a professional social media. That might help you as well. So maybe consider adding in linkedin.com/in/your name. Now, you see some of these sections here, skills. Again, skills shouldn't be general. And what you can do before you even jump into building your resume, just take a piece of paper or notepad or whatever and start writing down all your skills. Are you good at Microsoft Office? Are you good at Google Workspace and Google G Suite? Are you good with certain digital tools? Are you good at coding? Can you speak any languages? All of those things should be included in the skills section. Experience, right now, unless you are an extreme overachiever, most likely, maybe you had, a couple jobs, a few jobs in high school. Maybe you had a job going through college or a couple. So you don't have to list all of them. List the ones that are relevant, but have something in here. This too is where your experience doesn't have to be job experience. It can also be your volunteer experience. So if you've joined, like when I was at school, when I was at Oregon, I was on the Flight, which was the Student Alumni Association. And I was a VP of the Flight, and then I was a VP of Greek life and other things. I put those experiences on my resume, made sure they were on there because they beefed it up and showed, wow, Bryan is doing a lot more than just hitting the books and getting good grades. He's actually socializing, interacting, and really broadening his horizons. Education, of course, we're going to put University of Oregon for all of you Ducks on here. And then any awards, if you've won scholarships, if you won a specific award within your school, you're going to want to put that in as well. Let's jump back here. When you create your document, You know, make sure you're naming it. The thing when you name it is that that name is only visible by you unless you share the document link. What you're going to most likely do is download it as a PDF and send it off as a PDF or upload it into a system. Add or change the text, we get all that, format, font size, color, and style, and then insert a comment. So today I was sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, I told you I'm nostalgic, right? All that info, those tools, that wasn't available when I was going to Lundquist College of Business. We had a professor, I don't know if he's still there, Mr. Bill. I think his name was Mr. Bill. Mr. Bill. I don't know. He basically wrote a book every year and he would write a brand new book about using Microsoft Office. So you'd learn Excel and Word, and it was like video professor, but I was getting college credit for it. So that's what I was learning. I was learning how to use Microsoft Word. I didn't have this stuff. I didn't have templates. I didn't have any of that. So as I was sitting here today and I was thinking to myself, what would I tell myself, that kid that was sitting there, that student, that young adult that was sitting right there on those steps, the third step up, writing that email, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life because my career as a student was quickly ending. Here's a few things. Number one, leverage your network. Notice one of my first recommendations was from James Chang. When I got to tell you, when I reached out to him and I got a response back and he replied to my email months ago when we were exploring setting up this series, I got goosebumps because James was an instrumental person in my life. I had connected with him when I first joined, or when I first accepted and came to University of Oregon. I would stay in touch with him over time, and he was so kind to write me a recommendation. After James wrote me the recommendation, I went and asked my other professors, and I had Alan Meyer and all these great professors writing me recommendations. And soon enough, I had a nice, robust LinkedIn profile. Go leverage your network. Ask people like James, ask people like Megan if you've met with her and you've gotten to know her. Ask people that can give you character references as well as people that have actually seen you perform. Those are going to help you beef up your profile, and ultimately it tells the story. Remember, we're telling that story. It's all these people helping tell a story about what an amazing person you are. At the same time, I'm going to tell you, I had mentioned I reached out to an old camp counselor, and I'm talking old camp counselor like when I was, I think, 12 and living in Massachusetts. I had reached out to him because I was sitting on that step trying to figure out what am I going to do. And good old Noah wrote back and said, hey, I've got someone at Duncan here, write the email. Now, when you leverage your network, one thing you're going to do, don't be afraid to name drop. If you have gotten permission or if someone said, here, I'm going to introduce you to this person, or hey, go talk to this person, you can drop my name, do it. Because that gets you that one step closer. That breaks you and differentiates you from someone else that's in the job search. So notice the first line of my email, and this was written almost 14 years ago to the day, 1 week away. I was speaking with Noah Oshry, and he suggested I get in touch with you regarding blah, blah, blah. Okay, so leverage your network. Think of all the people that might be working right now, those that that just graduated last year that have a job that maybe they can get you in for informational interviews. Start working your network. Save time with a template. This outreach email became one of my templates, and I actually had it copied in Microsoft Word. I had it written in Microsoft Word. I would copy it and paste it in. Of course, it's much easier nowadays. You do not need to do that. You can actually use Gmail and save templates and then just auto load them out. So have some templates at the ready to save you time. Pre-write them when you're not in the heat of the moment. That way you're really putting your focus and attention into them, and you're writing some really good stuff that will help you get to that next step in the job process. A big one, and this is tough. There's right now where some of you are probably old souls and very mature. Some of you are figuring out maturity. Some of you are just realizing, hey, I'm going to be on my own pretty soon. No matter where you are in the journey of life, there's one thing you have to understand. Everyone only has 24 hours in a day. If you ask someone for a favor, if you send an email and request something, if they write back to you, and especially right now where it's so critical, it's your job, it's your career, it's the beginning of the next chapter of your life. If someone writes back to you, give them the courtesy of responding as soon as you can. Don't put it off. This is an example. I'm actually throwing myself under the bus. This guy wrote to me from Dunkin' Donuts, from Dunkin' Brands, and said, I'd be glad to speak with you. Here's my information. I didn't email him until 2 days later. I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe I was scared. I don't know. But I didn't respect his time. Now, he was my camp counselor's friend. He did give me the time of day, but my camp counselor, Noah, came back to me and said, you can't keep people waiting 2 days. And you can't. We only have 24 hours in a day. You got to do it quick. Respect people's time. So that concludes, my friends, our little journey through powering your job search with Google. We've covered quite a bit. We talked about creating that job search tracker in Google Sheets. We looked at how you can search for jobs and even save and create alerts with the Google job search function. We looked at creating your resume, and I gave you some fun tips. I want to just say thank you to Grow with Google. If not for Grow with Google, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't get to do what I love every single day. Uh, Thinking back 14 years, did I ever think that I would be sitting here today on behalf of Google talking to my fellow ducks? No, not at all. And I think life can take you in so many different ways. It's just about how you approach it every day. So I'm hoping that this was helpful for some of you. And what I want to do is open it up to questions. Now, before I get to questions, and I'm guessing some of you have questions about getting jobs at Google. Before I even do that, I'm going to ask you a favor. So, fellow ducks, if you can give me your feedback by going to bryancaplan.com/feedback, you see it right here. If you can open a new tab, take your phone, whatever it is, go to bryancaplan.com/feedback. You can write me a review. Your review is then shared with the people at Google, and that allows me to continue to teach these classes. So I'd really appreciate if you can take that minute and do me that favor. And let me get to your questions. You know, I did forget one big tip, and Chelsea, thank you for reminding me. Visit the University Career Center. I learned quite a bit because I was looking at international business too, and they opened my eyes to some different things that I was looking at, even some externships that I was looking at. I was going to go to, where was it? I was going to go to Spain, Granada, Spain, where the Alhambra is. And I was going to be there for 6 months. And it was all started because I had talked to the Career Center and I said, maybe consider doing this. So go check out the Career Center and say hi to Chelsea for me. You are very welcome. Thank you for joining us. My pleasure. Go Ducks. This was so helpful on my way to write a review. Oh, I'm glad. Thank you, Carter. I appreciate that. So Moises asks, what resources would you recommend for students who won't graduate soon but are looking for internships and jobs? You know, that is a really good question. I would tell you I haven't done this, so you're going to be the test pilot here, but go try that Google job search function. So go type in jobs near me and look for internships. So you can still, there might be paid or free internships that are listed. Another thing is maybe the Career Center has some local businesses that are looking for internships. I know that I work with my local schools, universities in Boston that I have relationships with where I have interns that are applying for our positions as well. So that's one place to look. Another thing that you can start doing if you're talking just about resources, start taking some different courses. There's so much free information out there, tons. So start taking some different courses. With Google, if you go back, if I go here, if you go to google.com/grow, there are courses, and you'll even notice right here, boost your resume with new certifications. So we have different certifications you can get. For instance, for me to be a dedicated trainer for the Grow with Google program, I have to go through certain courses. I have to get certifications in order for me to present these topics. So that's something that you can add to your resume as well. And if you take those different courses, you might figure out what you like and what you don't like. So then you can narrow it down, make your life easier. You are very welcome. You're welcome. Go Ducks. Go Ducks. There you go. You're welcome, Sam. My pleasure. As college students, should we focus on summer jobs that pay well or internships that offer more experience? Vincent, that's a great question, my friend. Um, I mean, we all want to make that money, right? So, of course, the summer jobs, like I was a lifeguard in Lake Oswego at a country club, and I just made so much money. But at the same time, did that really help me in marketing? No. No, not really. So it's going to be up to you. There's going to be a balance, and it depends on how much time you have. I mean, if you're a freshman, sophomore, and you have time to go get a summer job, make some good money, save up, squirrel away, and figure out how you can make more money from it. If you are, junior, senior, then maybe you want to start considering getting an internship, developing that experience. Um, it's all stuff that's going to help you tell your story and tell a story of why you should be employed by Acme Company or whoever it is. Melissa asks, when would you suggest starting your job search process? You know, I don't know that you can start too early, and I'll tell you why. Because if you start early, the whole thing is it's kind of, what's the best way to describe it? Okay, I'll tell you a quick story. Okay, Melissa. I was at the gas station a few months back. I live in New Hampshire now, so I'm in rural New Hampshire. And I was at the gas station and I heard this teenage girl on the phone with her dad. She said, "Dad, it's not working." And so I sit there for a second. I think, what's going on? And I kind of look over. She's on the phone with her dad. Her friend's in the car laughing hysterically because she can't figure out how to actually put gas in her car. She's never done it. So the dad in me, because I have a 5 and 7 year old, I wanted to go and be like, here's what you do. But I said, this is her dad's job. This is, his thing to do. So she finally said, oh, so I put the card in first. Yes. The reason why I'm telling you that story, had her dad brought her to the gas station, said, hey, it's your turn. Why don't you get out and fill up the car with gas? She would have already known. You can't start the job search too soon because you are going to start figuring out as you start doing the search how to read the job descriptions, how to organize yourself and organize that information. So it's almost like you're building another skill. So I would say start now. You came to this class, now start with a job search tracker, use that tool, start doing informational interviews. It's not just the technology that I showed you today, it's people. It's a people game. Informational interviews, talk to your professors and see who they know, because all the professors know people outside of academia, know people that are located locally and maybe even nationally. They might even know alums. Go talk to the Alumni Association, talk to James and Megan at the Alumni Association, see what they might think would be a good path for you, or some things that maybe you want to consider. Obviously, go to the Career Center as well. The one thing I didn't do when I was on campus that I regret to this day is I did not use my resources wisely. Didn't. I joined Entrepreneurial Club, barely went. Should have. Wanted to join the investing club, didn't. And then we had all these entrepreneurs coming that were sharing these amazing things. I maybe went to one or two because I felt like I had the answers, and I didn't. I've learned over time, and it's taken me 14 years to get to where I am. I bet if I had used some of the resources I had while in Eugene, I'd probably be here a lot faster. What does your day look like? Okay, Gabrielle, good question. That's a good question that you can ask in an interview as well. What does my day look like? Well, I'm a hybrid, right? I get to present on behalf of Google and the Grow with Google program, which is really cool. I get to do that for a couple other technology companies. I have a full service marketing agency, so we're working with hundreds of clients. I have a full team, employees, subcontractors. I got a business partner. And then as you grow up, you realize maybe you get married. I'm married to a beautiful woman named Linda, who is my rock and very supportive. Um, And I have two wonderful kids, Olivia and Bryce, who are 5 and 7. So when you ask what my day to day is, I'm fortunate that I get to work from home. Right now I'm in my basement, which is an office, and I've got a green screen behind me. I've got the lights up. I can look out the window and look over the lake that we live on. Um, my day is getting out of bed, showering, brushing my teeth, maybe listening to a podcast, a chapter of an audiobook, sipping on some coffee, and then just getting to work. And then I'll stop in the middle of the day. One thing that I do now is I make sure, like, we have a Peloton, I go and run, I stay active. As you start working, and especially if any of you are going to be doing a computer job, which most of us probably will be in the future, make sure that you're giving yourself excuses to get up, walk around, get some activity and exercise, get that blood flowing and the oxygen flowing in your blood. Very important. But yeah, day to day is meetings. I had 3 of these classes today. I'm meeting with clients, I'm meeting with our employees, I'm meeting with potential clients, and then we're doing all this fun stuff. So I get to make videos and write blog posts, and really, I get to be like a kid in a candy shop. So I'm very fortunate. You're welcome. My pleasure. I'm very glad you enjoyed it. You are welcome. You are welcome. What would you say are the most important skills to develop for marketing? Ooh, you're very welcome. So some skills to develop for marketing. Uh, Understand it, right? So marketing is a broad word. Like when I was in high school, I went to Southridge High School in Beaverton, and we had DECA, and I was the president of DECA. I still didn't understand what marketing was. I just knew that I was in charge of a business club and I could put it on my application and all that good stuff. So when I finally got into University of Oregon, mind you, this was really before everything started blowing up. Like we were one of the first classes to have Facebook, and that was a long time ago. We didn't have social media. We didn't have web builders. You couldn't just think of a site and build it in the same day. It just wasn't possible. So back then, wow, did I just say back then? Back then, I think the big thing was I knew business, but I didn't really understand marketing. I understood like the 4 Ps or the 5 Ps or whatever else, understand those things. But then go look at how companies are marketing. Go watch on YouTube and listen to people who are building out marketing channels and explaining all of the different kind of intricacies that go into it. Uh, Look at some of your local businesses, some of your favorite places, whether it's a restaurant you love or the bookstore or whatever it is, see what they're doing for their marketing. Because marketing's online, but it's also offline. When you go to the point of sale, the register, do they have a table tent suggesting you do something? You join a club, you get a membership. How are they merchandising? How are they showing you all their products and trying to get you to try something on or buy something? So just be an observer. I love people watching. That's what really got me into marketing. And I'll tell you again, it's all about people, but it's about how people interact with those products. And a good marketer is going to make that interaction happen. You're welcome, Joshua. So do you mind sharing how you got associated with Google? Yeah. Um, it was through happenstance. It was fate. It was a very positive growth mindset and good luck. I was training for another company. I was a tech trainer for another tech firm, and their program had ended. And I was fortunate enough to have the idea to create a speakers association. So you've probably heard the saying, when life hands you lemons. Well, life handed me lemons that day. I was basically, one of my revenue streams and one of my big lead generators for our business was done, kaput. So I said, hey, we've got 200 speakers that are now out of jobs. I'm going to make a speakers association. So I went and created a website and then invited all those speakers to come in. We created the local expert speakers association. We turned those lemons into lemonade. And I'll tell you, all of a sudden we're going out and I'm talking to all these different tech firms saying, I got 200 speakers that can train on your product. Okay, let's talk turkey. Well, soon enough, I was able to find Google, and then we were able to come to a really cool agreement where we had a special set of our trainers that worked for the Grow with Google program. That was almost 5 years ago. And so it's been 5 years of getting to work with Google, meet small business owners, meet students like you and job seekers, and ultimately just kind of help you get to that next stage, push you along so that you get that forward progress you need. I love that you came prepared for questions. You're from Beaverton too? Yep. Murray Hill, represent. What has been, I didn't even live in Murray Hill, I live right outside of it. What has been your favorite project client with your marketing firm? That's a tough question. The most fun project I had was when we promoted a movie. So it was an independent film. It was called Sushi Girl, and we got to fly out to Hollywood. We were at Grauman's Chinese Theater. We got to do the whole red carpet thing. We were doing social media from the red carpet. I was taking photos and videos. Got to meet a whole bunch of different, actors and celebrities, which was really cool. I think that was the most lively. I'd tell you the best one for me was my first. So it was my first business that it was a sandwich shop in Massachusetts. And my wife had said, hey, go there, sell them, tell them what you can do. I have full faith in you. And I went to the sandwich shop and I had this proposal all written out. And it was for social media, web design, email marketing, plus food photography. And I was charging them $125 a month. And I actually still have that proposal to this day. I have that page where I crossed out 125, wrote in 100 right in front of them because I wanted that dramatic effect, like they were getting a deal. And so for 20 hours a month, I was charging them $100, $5 an hour. But that was my first client. That was the first money that I made myself as a business owner, and that's the money that I'm most proud of. That's probably the project that I'm most proud of. So again, you probably catch a theme. I'm nostalgic. I think about where I came from in the University of Oregon, but also just kind of thinking about those humble times. Keep that grounded. Keep those roots so that you can appreciate what you have as you move forward.
So there you go. Another Grow with Google class in the books. Hopefully this class brought you value. You're welcome to join me at future classes and register for free by going to bryancaplan.com/events. I hope to see you soon. Until then, stay well, stay healthy, stay happy, and here's to your success.